Hey everybody, welcome back to On Deck, episode 22. I'm Bill, that's Lloyd. Lloyd, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing okay. I'm trying not to move too much. I injured myself yesterday, so I'm in a considerable amount of pain. But you know what makes pain better when you're sore? Video games. So why don't we talk about video games for the next, like, I don't know, few minutes to an hour, whatever, however it
Absolutely.
goes.
Absolutely. Before we do, I want to say a big thank you to our supporters. That's everybody who uses that join button on our YouTube channel. By the way, we do record this and post the video of the podcast over on our YouTube channel, which can be found at youtube.com/nerdnest. Head on over there, subscribe, click the bell. And then if you're really interested, click on that join button and you too can be a channel member here on the Nerd Nest. We really do appreciate everybody who's already done that. Speaking of appreciation, as an appreciation for the very first few people who show up to watch these videos as soon as they drop, I do have a couple of codes. These ones are come to us courtesy of the Rom3. He's a community member, and they sent in some codes for us to share out. So throughout the video, there'll be a code that pops up on screen, or maybe two codes that pop up on screen, and I can't remember. And then you can claim those on Steam Deck and be able to play those games on your deck as well. All right.
Nice.
Before we actually do get started, I want to really quick say that this episode of On Deck is brought to you by Nintendo Pulse. If you didn't know, Lloyd also hosts a Nintendo focused show called Nintendo Pulse. It's the longest running Nintendo focused show on the internet, I think. And if you like portable gaming, then you probably want to check out that show, which can be found over at res.tv/NP. Is that the right URL, Lloyd?
That is the one. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, we've been doing Nintendo Pulse for a while. And yeah, it's always great to talk about other portable gaming solutions that aren't this portable gaming solution.
That's right, and that's the portable gaming solution that we're going to be talking about for the rest of the show. Let's start with what's on deck. What have we been playing, Lloyd? What have you been playing?
Lots actually. I've been doing like the tapas version of game playing, which is, you know, like little plates when you go out for tapas. I've been doing little plates in video games, which is look at what is verified on deck and install all of that stuff and then play it for 5 seconds and then uninstall it. So I've probably downloaded a terabyte worth of data and I've played very little of it, which is probably not the best way to be doing it. But it's really great to jump in and sample a bunch of games that you've played or haven't. We were talking before the show. I had totally forgot that I owned a game, and I got another code for it from a bundle that I bought. And then I drop that into our giveaways, so we'll give it away in the next in the next few episodes or whatever. But it is, when you have a large Steam library, it is amazing to just have like the kind
Right.
of moment all the time. And that happened to me with Dungeon Siege. I haven't played it yet, but I've been playing a lot of games very similar to that. I guess first up, I'm going through a bit of a remote play together kick. I'm trying out a bunch of games that have the remote play together support. So I jumped back into River City Girls. I ended up picking up a copy of this for really cheap. I can't remember when, but it was part of a bundle. And River City Girls is a side-scrolling beat 'em up with RPG elements in it, where you're actually leveling up your River City Girls. It's based on the River City game from the NES, the Kunio-kun kind of games that have been going on from like 8-bit to all the way to now. And River City Girls is a way forward game, so you know it's going to be modern and fantastic, and jumping in and playing it on the deck it is pretty ridiculous. It is so much fun to get in there and throw baseballs and bats and whips and all the other stuff that you find randomly in the level. The levels are set up really weird. You start in a school, and I guess it's a school for kids. And repeatedly, your principal will come on and say, "All right, those girls are being bad. Okay, everybody go get them." And like the whole classroom will get up and try to attack the two girls. So I don't know what weird stuff is happening at this school, but I'm here for it. So yeah, I've been playing just a bunch of River City Girls, and little games like that are perfect for the deck because you can boot them up, play a level, put your deck to sleep, come back to it in 6 hours the next day, whatever, and pick right up from where you leaving off, which is not something that I've done a lot in PC gaming, because you'd have to, for me, come down, sit in front of the computer, get everything going, turn on the lights, get all the stuff ready, start the game, and by the time you've done that, it's already time to go. So the deck has been really good for that.
Yeah, there's a couple things. So first off, I've been playing Streets of Rage 4 because you and I did that remote. What's it called again? Remote play together.
Remote play together. Yeah.
Yeah. Remote play together, and that got me back into it. And like, I think I'm on like I'm up on Y Cathedral or Y Tower or something is where I'm at, which is close to the end of the game, which I've already beat once, but it's a really great game. So I'm enjoying going back and playing it again. But that remote play together thing that you mentioned, if you didn't see it last week, Lloyd and I talked about this new feature that's on deck, which is just absolutely fantastic. But it got me back into that side-scrolling brawler as well. I haven't been playing it with remote play together, but I started playing it again. And then the second thing that you had said that stands out to me is that I went through the exact same thing. When I first got my Steam Deck, it was download a game, try it for a couple minutes. Holy cow, it works. Delete it and download the next game. And I like when I first got the Steam Deck, I did that a million times. And I'm going to imagine like that's an experience that a lot of people probably don't tend to do, because up until now, PC gaming has been, I've upgraded my PC or I got a new PC and it's the same as the old PC, just faster and like that kind of thing. Whereas the Steam Deck feels like a new device. And generally, when you get these new devices, they don't have a built-in library. Like you don't have a built-in library. You go out and you buy a PS5, unless you bought a bunch of games with it, you probably don't have a built-in library of games to play. So you don't end up doing that thing. And I went through the exact same thing that you did, where I was just installing, trying, and deleting the whole tapas metaphor that you were talking about. I ran into that exact same thing, which is hilarious. So River City Girls, you recommend that one?
River City Girls is fantastic. If you like side-scrolling beat-em-ups, this one is more than just your standard like Turtles or Final Fight, where you're walking from the left to the right, beating people up, and then getting to the end of the stage and fighting a boss. There's actual development that you're doing in this game with a lot of unlockables and things like that, which is really good. I'm trying to get into my library real quick, because one other thing that I've noticed is when I first got my deck, Great on Deck, it had about, I don't know, I think 80 something games. I'm up at 131 right now. So in the month that I've had my deck, 50 games have been added to my Great on Deck thing. Without me really doing anything. I'm sure I bought some of them. I've bought a lot of games on sales or whatever. I've never owned a piece of hardware, Bill, where all of a sudden it's like, oh, you want more games? Here you go. Here's some more games. Here's 50 more games than you had when you bought this device that are completely playable. It is really weird to boot up my Steam Deck, notice that there's new games available, and then go through the list, and it's like, oh my God, I wanted to play that one. Install it, and then maybe play it for 5 minutes and uninstall it, because sadly my internal memory is stuffed on this thing with only 64 gigs.
Yeah, so I was just looking at I went to all games instead of Great on Deck, and then I hit the X button and you can go down to verified or playable, and I've got 213 games that are verified or playable. That's not counting the ones that are what is it called, unknown,
right?
Yeah, that's not counting the ones that are unknown, which I'm sure that a lot of those work, especially because a lot of these games are older. But like, it's just so fantastic how you get that library immediately, that huge library. When the Nintendo Switch launched, it launched with 7 games. And sure, there's 4,000 games on the Switch now, but that took 5 years. The Steam Deck, I don't know if, we don't have this in the show notes, but the Steam Deck's already at 3,000 either verified or playable games, and it's been out for 3 months. It's just bananas.
It is.
Speaking of games that are verified or playable, this one is neither because it's not out yet. But when it comes out, I'm sure it'll be verified. And it is a demo that I've been playing called Cursed to Golf. Have you played Cursed to Golf, Lloyd?
No, but it sounds interesting.
Okay, so here's the. First off, it's a side scroller golf game. So imagine that you are.
Okay.
You know what? There was an iOS golf game. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like you would golf from this like from a side view. Do you know which? It doesn't matter if you know the name, but do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. I can picture the screenshots in my brain, but I can't
Yeah.
think of the name right now.
It very much reminds me of that, except it's all procedurally generated and it's a roguelike. So it's a roguelike golf game where you are a ghost because you got killed on the 18th hole being struck by lightning and that sent you to golf hell, I guess. And there's this Scottish guy down there with a giant personality. Very reminds me of Robin Williams. Not like it's all text based, but just reminds me of Robin Williams' Genie a little bit.
Right.
And like he teaches you. He says, "Hey, if you want to get out of here, you got to play the course. It's 18 holes, and you have to finish in par, right? And so you'll have like 5 shots to get through this course, but it's absolutely impossible. So you have to then hit these trophies as you go through the course. And if you hit them with your ball, then they will give you like 4 more shots on your par button or whatever. And then you have abilities that you can use in addition to that. So you can do like just a trial shot just to see how does it work. And it won't count for par. It'll just see what happens. And you can use that to like break things that are in your way and then go through afterwards. It's really, really cool. You can have the ability to stop time. So you hit the ball is sailing across. You don't want it to go like if you want to land between 2 water hazards or something, you can then stop time. The ball will then just drop straight down and land exactly where you want. And if you don't sink the putt in par, then you're dead. You go back to the beginning and you start over, but you earned some money so you can then buy upgrades for your character and stuff like that. You can buy cards to use that give you these weird powers. It's awesome. The art style is straight out of a 16-bit era, and it's not out yet, but it looks absolutely fantastic. And the demo plays incredibly well. And actually, you can play quite a bit of the demo on Steam Deck. So I'm absolutely recommending that to everybody who has not yet tried it out. Cursed to Golf is going to be
Nice.
A lot of people are going to be talking about that game.
Yeah, that sounds really intriguing. I'll have to check that one out. I was a big fan of that golf RPG on Switch when it first launched.
Oh, there was a Switch game.
Oh,
I thought it was an iOS game.
Well, there was a Switch game as well where it was more of an RPG. It was made by Camelot.
Oh,
I'm blanking on. I can't
Golf
think
Story?
of. Golf Story. There you go. So I loved Golf Story. I love the idea behind Golf Story. I didn't love Golf Story. And this seems more like what I wanted Golf Story to be, where you get all these weird powers and change your golf game. So I'll definitely be checking out the demo of this one.
Yeah. What else have you been playing?
The other game that I've played a lot of is Fallout New Vegas. I'm a huge Fallout fan. I love Bethesda games generally speaking, but Fallout is so good. I love the whole franchise. And one game that I didn't play, I don't think I even completed it, was Fallout New Vegas. And that wasn't because the game wasn't good or anything. It was because it had so many problems when I first picked it up on like PlayStation 3, where you get partway through the game and your save game would be corrupted, or you wouldn't be able to finish the game off. So I've started it a bunch of times. I don't think I've completed it, but I wanted to see how it ran on Steam Deck. So I don't believe it was verified at the time when I installed it. I'm not sure if it is now. Installed it, jump right in. And I'm playing Fallout New Vegas with max settings, I think, or high instead of ultra. and resolution down just a tiny bit, so FSR kicks in. And I'm playing Fallout New Vegas, and my estimated battery life when I was playing last night was like 6 hours, which is just
Nice.
made me smile so much. The little mini game, like I gamify my gaming on deck by trying to get as much battery life as possible. I never play portably that long, but that's just one of the things that I do. And I was able to get Fallout New Vegas to give me 5+ hours worth of gameplay, and jumped right in. And it has a controller layout, so it's just like playing on console. Jumped right in. It works so well. I have the complete edition or whatever that includes all the DLC. So
Oh,
immediately
nice.
jumped in, had my guns, went and looted all the stuff that I had to get enough caps to get the real powerful weapon at the start, and played 2-3 hours of Fallout New Vegas on a portable game system. And I didn't even kill the battery of my system after playing it for 3 hours. Just ridiculous. So I have Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3. I don't own a copy of Fallout 4. I'm really tempted to pick one up, even though it is part of like the Xbox Game Pass. So I got to figure out if there's a way to get it installed that way. I don't think it is. But I'd love to play through like all of the Fallout games, all of the Elder Scrolls games, like all of these old titles that I really loved. It almost feels like a new game when you're playing it on a portable game system. So yeah, Fallout New Vegas works really well, and just so nice to just boot into an old favorite, and it just works, and you get a ridiculous amount of battery life while you're doing it.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to, because I already had that game installed, and just I did check, and it is untested. So this game is
Unknown,
untested.
yeah.
It's one of those games that a lot of people probably have, and it
Mm-hmm.
runs just fine, but it is untested, so they don't know if it's verified or whatever. I'm here to tell you, it works. I've played it
does.
for about an hour on my Steam Deck so far. And I am going to have to do what you were doing, like lowering the resolution and play that game. Share your settings with me, so
Sure.
I can try and steal that from you, especially now that we've got that quick access menu that
Yeah.
that remembers each game's specific profile and stuff. I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome. And yeah, I can agree. The game runs or feels perfectly fine on the Steam Deck,
Yeah.
even though it was. For some reason, I thought that was keyboard and mouse only. Am I remembering wrong?
Maybe it is.
I think,
but
what I'm guessing is that you automatically imported somebody's control scheme that they made.
I definitely would have done that, but I was pretty sure it put up the glyphs for the controller stuff.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm wrong then.
Maybe I'm not sure. Oh, it's not booting right now for some reason.
As far as Fallout 4 goes, I already own that, so I'll give it a download and let you know how it runs before you spend money on it.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. The game won't boot for some reason. I'm not really sure. It
Oh, that's
launches
weird.
and then craps out. So I'll have to look into see why that's happening. I'll do that when we're not doing a show though.
Yeah. All right. So Fallout New Vegas, I ran into the same
up.
issue with you where I loved Fallout 3. New Vegas came out. I don't know why, but I never really played it. And then I got it really cheap on a bundle. Right before the show, Lloyd and I were talking about how cheap it is to play video games on PC. It's absolutely crazy. Well, I ended up getting it on a bundle, and then I never played it until I got it on Steam, until I got my Steam Deck. So it is a new game to me. Speaking of games that are not new to me, and keeping with my golf theme, I've been playing PGA Tour on my Steam Deck. It's the perfect game to sit back and put my feet up and just listen to the commentary as I swing the club and sink the putt. And it's the graphics are great. It's really relaxing. It's a very enjoyable game. PGA Tour, highly recommend it. And I haven't tried it yet, but it also supports remote play together. So like you can play that game with other people, even if they don't have it, which is really, really cool. What else you been
Nice.
playing, Lloyd?
A couple quick ones, just so we're not here forever.
Yeah.
There currently right now as we're recording, there's a sale going on. By the time this episode airs, it'll probably be very close to being gone, if not already gone. But there was a Prince of Persia sale on Steam where you could get all 5 of the modern Prince of Persia games for like $8 or something ridiculous. So that's Prince of Persia, Sand of Time, Warrior Within, Two Thrones, Forgotten Sands, and then the reboot called Prince of Persia, which doesn't boot for whatever reason. So I have to look in to see why, if maybe there's a different version of Proton I need to get going for this one. But I jumped into Prince of Persia Sands of Time, which is one of the first games that came out that really kind of revitalized or reinvented kind of brawling in these kind of like 3D world games. And I can remember clearly when this game first came out, just how it blew my mind, where you run up to someone and you hit the dodge button and you run up their body and flip over them and then stab them right in the back and they fall down. Like, so many amazing cinematic moments. So I was like, I got to play this again. So downloaded it. It's like a gig. I forgot how small old games used to be, and it's just so nice to install it and play it. And I jumped right in. And even though the PC port of Sands of Time is keyboard and mouse only, the default profile that it downloaded works really, really well. I know a lot of times for me, maybe not for others, but specifically for me, a lot of these games where it's keyboard and mouse with the mouse being your camera control, it's either too slow or too kind of like fast or like jumps around. The default profile that downloaded this one was pretty good. There's a lot of camera issues, but that's an issue with the game, not the controls. So it was kind of nice to pick up this old game. It's like 12 years old or whatever, this old PC title, played on a modern piece of hardware. It auto installs the modern controls, and then you're jumping through and playing Prince of Persia Sands of Time. I will say one thing with my little habit of tweaking the settings to get the most battery life out of it. For whatever reason, the engine in this one is super resource hungry. So even when I lower the settings, it's not giving me great battery life. So your mileage may vary for this one, but man, it is so nice to play Prince of Persia again.
You know what you might want to do for that? You might want to lower the TDP on the Steam
I tried
Deck.
that.
You did?
Yeah, I tried that to about like 10 watts or whatever, but it was still using, I think, 13 or 14. So for whatever it's doing, it's not releasing the hardware settings or whatever, the stuff that it needs to do. That said, it's an old game. I'm probably not going to play it for big stretches of time at all, if I'm even going to complete it. It's been fun going through kind of the tutorial area, trying to find the dagger of time or whatever it's called, that you steal in the first game. Yeah, man, it's so much fun to get into this one. And it was $2. Like, you can buy each of these games for $2 each, on sale. I'm sure they're going to go back up to $10. But man, it is nice. Like, that's one of the things that I've been enjoying so much with the Steam Deck, is just kind of like sampling old games that I really loved, that I either own or I pick up for pennies on the dollar now on Steam sales or bundles. It's been great. And yeah, Prince of Persia Sands of Time holds up surprisingly well, considering it's like a 12 or 14-year-old game. To play it on modern hardware, it's working really, really well.
Awesome. So I have been playing. So this week, Blizzard released Diablo Immortal, and I installed that on my phone, and I played it for not enough time to finish the tutorial, and I decided I don't want to play this because I don't like having my fingers over the screen when I'm playing games. And so
Right.
I haven't touched it since, but I wanted that old school ARPG stuff, and so I loaded up Path of Exile again. I don't have anything new to say about it other than it runs fantastically well on the Steam Deck, and if you haven't played Path of Exile, very Diablo 2-ish. Boy, I've forgotten how crazy the talent system is in that game. Like,
Right.
if you've never seen this, you like when you look at the talent system, it looks like a city, like a city roadway map, and you're like, oh, you have so many options. It's absolutely crazy. But I'm not a min-maxer, and so I'm just tackling it. Oh, as I leveled up, oh, well, which one do I want? Do I want to have bonus HP or do I want to do bonus damage? And I'm not really looking forward in time. And there's going to be like Path of Exile experts and everything, and they're going to be like, Bill, you're going to ruin your character. I'm not going to play this game long enough it's a free game. I'm not going to play this game long enough to ruin my character. I'll probably get to level 20 and lose interest, but that's one that I've been playing since I didn't want to play Diablo Immortal. And you might be able to get Diablo Immortal running on Steam Deck, but with all of the microtransaction stuff that's going on with that game, I don't know that I want to talk about or not talk about. I don't know if I want to even bother because I've heard,
Yeah.
like, what was it? Somebody posted in the community Discord. It's like $100,000 to max out your character or something.
Something like that. I'm playing Diablo Immortal on iOS, and I want to love it because I love Diablo and I love the lore behind Diablo. And this is set between Diablo 2 and 3. So I think I'm going to do all the story missions, but I'm going to get out while the getting's good, because every single thing you do in that game, it's like, well, if you just give us $10, you'll get way more loot.
Yeah.
And then you buy that $10 thing, and then you beat another level, and it's like, oh, well, you just bought a $10 one. Here's a $15 one. And then it keeps going up. Like my what are they called? Bundle section is filled with all these bundles that started at $2, and it's like 480% value. And then as you make your way through, it's like 170% value. It's like, well, I'm playing the game longer. Why is there less value in these bundles that you're putting out? Yeah, it is almost to the point of like ridiculousness. It is pretty egregious what they're doing. But I'm going to play the story and get all the content out of it and then dip, because, man, I could see people spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month
Yeah.
to keep up with this game, which is just ridiculous.
You also been playing Star Wars?
Yeah, so Fanatical, one of my new favorite websites that always puts bundles up. I think this was a Fanatical bundle. I got a bunch of Star Wars bundles, so it was kind of like the Force Unleashed bundle I picked up back in the day. And then it was the KOTOR. I was able to get Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 for like $2.50 each or whatever. I haven't played KOTOR 1 in since launch. Maybe it's been so long. So jumping right back into it, and I'm like, oh my God, I remember this. Oh, I remember this. I remember this stupid line. So yeah, I've been jumping in and playing a little of KOTOR.
How's it control? Because I know it's a mouse keyboard game.
It is. This is one game where the camera controls annoy me because I'm very sensitive to that type of stuff. It's playable. I didn't get in and tweak my settings. Maybe that would help things out a little bit. But it is pretty funny to jump right in and I don't know. I play a scoundrel and you're firing your laser pistol or whatever, and it's just like, man, I love this game, but I haven't played it in forever. I'm gonna spend some decent time playing that on my Steam Deck in the weeks and months to come.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to the news, and we've got some big news. It's funny because I think it was last episode we talked about the dock. Like we said, hey, the dock should be coming soon. And then I think I said, I made a joke like, oh, well, now that we've mentioned it, I'm sure that they'll say something this week right after the episode comes out, because there were a bunch of comments that had come in on the YouTube channel saying,
Right.
you guys, you're like a curse or whatever. The curse continues, whatever it is that they say. I can't remember. But the docking station has been delayed. Here's what they said over on steampowered.com. Hey, all. Due to the part shortages and COVID closures at our manufacturing facilities, the official Steam Deck docking station is delayed. We're working on improving the situation, and we'll share more info when we have it. This has no effect on the production schedule and reservation windows for the Steam Decks, different parts, different factories. In the meantime, the team is continuing to work on improving the docked experience for Steam Deck with all USB-C hubs and external displays. And we'll talk about that when we get to patch notes later on. Lloyd, what's your initial reaction here to the delay of the dock?
Yeah, not super surprising. I don't know if we talked about it here last episode or if it was on a different podcast where I was talking about the Genki portable dock that had to be redesigned because they couldn't get one component.
Yeah, it was this one.
But yeah, so it's like the USB hub or whatever they were using, they just couldn't get those chips anymore. And instead of waiting, they made it smaller and it only has one USB port. I would be surprised if that's not a similar issue. That's what's happening here. There's just certain components that are just super, super hard to find because they're in cars and they're in consumer electronics and they're in all these other things. it is sad. That said, you can pretty much use any other dock that you want with your
Hmm.
Steam Deck. That's the amazing thing about what Valve's doing here. Everything's super open. Yeah, there you have your Apple one, which I have to try mine. I haven't actually tried that one yet. I should do that.
So real quick, the Apple one, the way that it worked when I first got it, it worked flawlessly. But then they updated it to tell me that it doesn't deliver enough power, and this is even when plugging in the official power supply that came
Sure.
with the Steam Deck. I think that there's something going on in this device that like it doesn't just pass that power straight through. So this
Sure.
does not deliver power fast enough. Well, I mean, it still works just fine. It just doesn't deliver power fast enough. So just keep that in mind. I wouldn't buy this particular one anymore just because now we know that information.
Yeah, I have a bunch of them. Like I have, oh, this isn't one. This is just the USB one. I have a couple small ones that have HDMI on it that I keep meaning to come down here one day and try every single HDMI out I have, because I got a bunch of cables and adapters and things like that. So there's ways for me to get video out of this device. That said, I really want one of these docks just because I want to have it set up down here so I can come in, put my Steam Deck down, plug in the little USB thing on top, and then immediately start capturing video, doing all the stuff that I want to. I mean, this isn't going to change a lot of people's lives having this dock, because it is still going to only output at like 720p. So you're not going to get amazing video on your TV. Some people are like, okay, well, if I played on TV, it's going to be better graphics, right? No, because they're not doing what Nintendo's doing, where when you're playing portably, they hardware limit the chips inside, and then when you dock it, they unleash some of that power. The Steam Deck doesn't work that way. You get access to all power at all times.
Yeah.
But this is really going to be more of a convenience thing for a lot of people if they want to just get things plugged in and hooked up. So again, not completely surprised based on some of the other products that have been delayed recently. And I love the fact that they're putting all of their time into shipping more of the actual Steam Decks instead of worrying about redoing the parts for this one. It'll come in time, probably fall, I would assume, maybe 3-4 months delay. Not ideal again, but this isn't a needed accessory for everybody. It's going to be a wanted accessory for some people. So it is going to be disappointing for those, including myself, because I really want to pick up one of these.
Yeah, boy, if you had asked me before I got my hands on the Steam Deck how important the dock would be to me, I would have said extremely important. Like if they gave me like the 1 through 5, I would have picked 5. I would have said, boy, that's really important. Now that I have it, I even though I have the ability to plug it into a screen, I never do, ever. I never do. This is a portable system for me. And look, different things to different people. Different people are going to use it in different ways. But for me, it is portable. Will I get one of these docks when it comes out? Absolutely. And then I'll hook it up and maybe I'll change my tune because, it'll just be easier because everything will be hooked up already. And like there'll be less, because if I want to hook something up to anything right now, I gotta go get a wire, get that wire to work. Like if everything's set up ahead of time and all I got to do is plug in one thing, then maybe I'll use it more often. But this is a portable system for me. And as soon as you dock it, you lose access to the trackpads and the rear buttons. Like I tried playing the game that I've been playing the most, Rogue Legacy. I tried playing it on my computer. I was just like, oh, I'll sit at my computer and play instead of my Steam Deck. I played it for like 3 minutes and I was like, this is terrible, because I had bound the spin kick to one of the rear buttons, and I don't have that button on my Xbox controller.
Right.
That's a bad experience. And I think that there's a lot of people who are going to realize that the control inputs that are on the Steam Deck are far more important than you think that they are. And as soon as you go to play a game that doesn't have those control inputs because you've docked it, then you run into an issue. One thing that I wish that Valve would do, release a really, really long USB cord that's very flimsy and thin, so that when I want to dock it, I could have that wire, instead of having this thing hanging off the end of my Steam Deck, I
Right.
could have a long, thin wire coming off of it that's hooked up to the screen and then use this as a controller. I've tried using using the Steam Deck as a controller when it's plugged into something. It's too cumbersome. Like
Too
that
big.
wire
Yeah.
is it's distracting and terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of ran into the exact same issue as you when I was playing Rogue Legacy in a couple games where I completely customize the controls and then try to play it somewhere else and it doesn't work. I really hope, well, obviously, once they have the dock coming out and they have all those part shortages all done, I'd love for them to come out with a Steam controller too that had the exact same, yeah, exactly, the exact same controls as the Steam Deck. That would then take your settings that you had set on the Steam Deck and just make them playable on that device, because I love the Steam Deck. I love the D-pads, I love the buttons, I love the back paddles, I love everything about it. But I don't want to use it as a controller, like you said, Bill. It's too big. It's like if I'm sitting on the couch, I don't have to worry that I'm blocking the vents on the back because I put it down on my lap or something. Like I just want to have a small little controller. So hopefully that'll be, I don't know, sometime in 2023, they'll come out with the Steam Controller 2, which will have every single feature of the Steam Deck and auto pair and do all these really great things. That would be amazing because, yeah, like you, I want those customizations, and no other controllers I have back paddles, and I'm not about to go buy a $200 Xbox Pro controller or whatever Extreme or whatever they call it, the one that has the paddles on the back,
Right.
because I don't want it that bad. I want it bad,
Same.
not $200 bad.
Yeah, I'm with you. And all this talk of playing your games on an external display, that segues perfectly into the latest firmware software, the
Client
latest
updates.
software update. Yeah, the latest client update from Steam on June 2nd, which is 3 days ago. They said let's go through the whole list essentially. So first off, they added game resolution setting to app properties, allowing players to override the max display resolution for games on a per game basis. When I read that, I'm like, I don't really get why you would do that, because I think almost every game supports 720p. So
Sure.
why are you trying to override the maximum display resolution? Did you understand what that is for? Because maybe
Yeah.
I'm dumb.
Yeah, I know there's some games that I've tried to play and they max out at like 640 by 480 or 800 by 600, and it would be really nice to bump them up a little bit to then have them display that way. I kind of want it to go the other way, to be quite honest
Yeah.
with you. I want lower resolution defaults added to all these games, so then I could lower my resolution, turn on FSR to number 5 for smoothing, and then the game performs better with less power usage. So maybe this is kind of like the first step towards that. It's going to fix some of these old games that maybe max out at 640 by 480. Say, no, you can do 800 by 600. Let's default that so it looks a little bit better on your screen. But then I hope that they'll go the opposite way so that you can have some 16 by 9 or 16 by 10 styled resolutions, but lower than like 1280 by 800, so that you can take advantage of FSR.
Yeah, I think we talked about this on the last episode last week. By the way, all the comments that came in that were excited that we're doing the show weekly now, thank you. We appreciate that. I think that on last week we talked about there was a script that somebody had written that allowed you to get games to run at resolutions that were not intended by the developers of the games, and they had tweeted that at, it was either Lawrence Yang or I can't remember the other guy's name off the top of my head right now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They tweeted it at Valve, and Valve had responded. They were like, yeah, that's something that we're working on. We're working on making it so that you can select the resolution that you want that makes the most sense for this form factor. So that sounds like exactly what you're looking for, Lloyd.
100%. Yeah, because I noticed most games, they expect higher resolution monitors, so then they have 720p as the lowest that it will go, and then some of these games only have that one thing shown. It's 720p and that's it. You can't choose any other resolutions because it only has larger resolutions. So I know that wouldn't work for all games if you did smaller and then FSR'd it up. But I'd love to have that tool in my toolbox to kind of work on my mini game of trying to make my battery life stretch for as long as I want. So yeah, this is a really good addition, but I really hope they go the other way as well.
And then speaking of external displays, they added mouse cursor using the right trackpad for built-in web browser interactions when connected to an external display. I never ran into an issue where that was not working, but okay, that's cool. They also improved the default aspect ratio behavior for external monitors. Games
That's
will
nice.
now default. This is a big one. Games will now default to 1280 by 800 if you've got a 16 by 10 external monitor display, and 1280 by 720 for all other external displays.
Nice.
That's a very important thing, because when you plug a monitor or a screen into this thing and it outputs a weird resolution, the game's going to look weird, and then you have to go through and like change things. Well, now they're changing it to a default aspect ratio, automatically detect what screen size or what screen aspect ratio you have. Most people are going to be 16 by 9. And even though I'm playing, say, Rogue Legacy at 16 by 10, when I hook it up to another display, change the resolution to 16 by 9 rather than squish and scrunch everything and stretch everything. I think that's absolutely huge.
It is huge. This is going to be good because I know right at launch, like when you got your review unit, you'd hook it up to an external capture card and it would output at 4K because it was connected to a 4K monitor. I'm like, what's happening here? Having better control over that is fantastic, and defaulting it to 800p if you have a 1610 or 720p if you have a 16:9. That makes total sense, and I'm glad that it's there, and it's going to make it easier once the dock does come out for people that want to hook this up to their television. You'll just dock your dock, which is weird. Dock your deck, which is what I wanted to say, and then you'll get 720p out or 800p depending on your television. So it's going to be huge and a really good feature just to get rid of the kind of weirdness that happens sometimes with hooking up external displays.
They also improved some UI performance, which is great. So here's the thing: when I am on, say, the store or something, and I want to type, and actually I have been using the dual trackpad typing, which is not something I expected to be doing. I've been getting better at it, I guess. But I feel like it's kind of slow, like the performance of the keyboard was slow, but then I launched a game and I had to like create a character, and I was going through the process of creating a character, and as part of that process you have to name that character. It brought up the keyboard and it felt so much smoother doing that dual pack trad typing when I was in the game than when I was on the store. Like there seems to be something when you are on the store that is slowing down the responsiveness of the keyboard, and that all went away when it felt 1,000 times better when I was typing in this game. I don't remember what game it was, but it was a really weird bug. Have you run into that typing issue when you're using the keyboard in the store or something? It feels kind of jank.
I haven't had the slowdown, but I've had issues where I go to type and then the keyboard disappears. And then I bring it back up and then it's not responsive anymore. Like nothing that I'm typing is going into the text box. Then I have to actually manually hit Steam X to get the keyboard to go away, click or tap into the thing and then bring it back up. So I've had some weirdness that way, but not a slowdown kind of thing. I mean, we're living. It's a shipped beta essentially, where they're constantly updating the software. So I expect issues like that, but not a slowdown. I will say it surprises me that you like the dual trackpad typing, because I can't stand it. It drives me insane. And I think for me the main reason is because when I game, most of the time I'm in the dark, and not being able to see the controls. I hit them by accident. Like I'll go to hit the Steam button, I hit a trackpad, and then I accidentally type a bunch of characters. Then I have to backspace, and it becomes annoying for me. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to use the D-pad and the A button. But maybe I should give it a better time of day since you're enjoying that one.
And you go back 5-6 episodes, I was saying how awful that I thought the dual pet trackpad typing was. So maybe you'll get better at it, or you can just keep using the D-pad. It definitely works. I would really, really like the top of the keyboard to have text prediction the way that like my phone does. So I start
Right.
typing a word and then it shows all of the predictions and I can just tap one of those. That would really speed things up a lot. But I don't think that that's an option right now. So if I'm just going to go into and I'll type a word, there's no prediction. It needs prediction.
Yeah.
I think that would be good. All right, moving on. This one's kind of a big deal because there's some games that only recognize the Steam Deck as a controller, and if you want to play, like if you want to dock that thing and then play with an external controller, some games will not recognize an external controller as a device, as player one, essentially. So
Right.
they've also improved controller order when using external gamepads to assign the controller slots by the order of input. This should help with compatibility in games which are locked onto the Steam Deck controller. Awesome. Awesome. They're clearly going through and getting things ready for the deck, not the deck, the dock. They're getting ready. Boy, that's two words. They're getting things ready for when the dock does release. They've had to delay it because of parts, but hey, that just means that when it does come out, it will be a better experience for everybody.
100%. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what they what the OS looks like by the time the dock ships. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, and then they fixed a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to go into all of the fixes. I'm sure that you saw it while it was on the screen during the show anyway. And they temporarily disabled adaptive brightness toggle because it caused some kind of stability issues. I don't know anything about that. It just seemed to always work for me. Do you mess with the brightness at all, or do you just let the system figure it out itself?
Yeah, I when I first got the deck, I was kind of toggling that and moving the brightness up and down, and I don't even bother with that anymore. There's too many other things to monkey with. I don't need to monkey with the brightness. But yeah, having the adaptive brightness is nice. Hopefully that'll come back for people that really use it, because it does help when you're in a low light situation to not have your deck kind of like blind you because the screen is so bright.
All right. So one of the biggest irritants that I've seen people complaining about with the Steam Deck is the fan. That's not what I'm talking about here. Another big irritant that I've seen people talk about is the nonstop downloading of shaders. So if you got a lot of games installed, you turn on your Steam Deck, it's like, hey, everybody, I'm going to download a shader. And then the other game is like, hey, we can all download shaders. Do you have any shaders to download? Let's get you some shaders. And every game seems to be downloading shaders all of the time. And a lot of people were complaining about it because it's kind of irritating that games are always downloading shaders and they're not doing it in the background. They're doing it when you go to use it. So if you wanted to play that game, then you have to wait for this update. You don't have to wait for very long. But if you go to play a system, it should be playable right then. And so people have been complaining about that. Another reason that people complain about that is because, and this would probably affect you a bunch, Lloyd,
100%
is
does.
the storage. Even if you have an SD card in your Steam Deck, it's all on the internal storage. It is on the 64 gigabyte internal storage. That's where the shaders go, even if you have the game installed on the SD card. That's definitely... Go ahead.
I don't know if you can see it.
Oh my God.
Probably not. I have 0 bytes free on my internal storage right now because I have nothing else installed there other than like the Proton and things like that. I have 0 bytes free because it is filled with those cache, the shader pre-caching stuff. It can please, Valve, could you give me a toggle where I say move precache to SD card, and it will just take all that junk and put it on the SD card so I don't have to stress over this? Not that I really want to put anything on my internal storage necessarily, but it would be nice to have that option, to have a couple games that I always want to have on my deck in the internal storage, and then be able to use my SD card as removable storage. I can't do that right now because if I remove my SD card, I ain't got no games because it's all the pre-cache stuff that is sitting on my internal storage.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm looking at it. I didn't even think about so I don't know about you, but when I see that a storage device is full, it makes me panic. Like I don't like that feeling. And I don't have the 64 gigabyte one, but I just looked, and my yellow bar, the one that you just showed, is at 100. What is it? 128 gigs of
Jeez.
other. 128 gigs of other is on my internal storage. That's pretty crazy.
That is.
Now you can go through and you can delete those shaders, but they're just going to re-download when you go to play the game again, or the game will perform not as well. It'll perform poorly. Well, this doesn't fix that problem, but what it does fix is how often this happens, and it does reduce the size of the shaders. So Pierre-Luc Graffi tweeted this out. He says, "We've just deployed a server-side improvement to minimize the incremental download size of shader pre-caching data for Steam Deck." I don't know if this is going to solve that problem, but it's going to push things in the right direction. The other thing that you could do, Valve, is like Lloyd said, let people move that off of their internal storage and store it wherever the person decides to store the game, I guess.
Yeah. I know there's some people have put, I mean, it's pretty easy to make a symlink on a Linux-based system. You can make a folder that links to a different folder, but it acts like a folder. So I could make a symlink on my SD card that links to storage on my SD card, and then every time that it writes to that internal storage, it's actually writing to the SD card. That would have the benefit of moving all those shaders right to my SD card. But I don't want to do that just in case an update happens and then
breaks everything.
It breaks everything, right? And the thing that makes me nervous is I currently have 0 bytes available on my internal storage. What does that mean next time there's an update? Yeah. I know Valve holds a chunk of storage for those updates so that you shouldn't need any storage. But maybe in the future it's going to need something. And having 0 bytes, as someone that has been doing IT for his entire working career, having a hard drive with no storage free can only cause problems. It's never a good thing. So it makes me very, very nervous. And instead of having to go and delete all my pre-caching all the time to make that storage disappear and then slowly get filled up as it downloads those updates, it would be really nice if there was just a toggle that just would move it to the SD card. And maybe there's a performance reason why they're not doing it. Maybe some of the slower SD cards and the way that it's hitting the pre-cache at the same time that it's streaming in content from the SD card, maybe that causes some issues. But hearing a lot of people talk on Reddit about having that symlink and moving it manually and not having any problems makes me think that maybe it would work okay. So hopefully this will come in a future Steam Deck OS update or Steam client update or wherever this is stored, because that would make my life a little less stressful when I look at my storage. And seeing that 0 makes I break out in cold sweats and it's all bad when I see that type of stuff.
Absolutely. All right. I think that we're already at the hour mark, so we should probably skip over these final stories, and we'll put out a show midweek if we have time. Sure. But let's move on to Deals on Deck. This is where you can get games that are on sale right now, and I just wanted to let everybody know that Warhammer Skulls Festival has a bunch of Warhammer games that are on sale from June 1st to June 8th. I think I played one Warhammer game that was Warhammer Online, where you were it was like you were orcs with like guns or something. I can't remember. I played that back in the day. It was basically like the World of Warcraft of Warhammer. I played that back in the day. This has a bunch of games that are on sale right now for quite a bit off. I think they're up to 90% off. But if you want to get like Vermintide, that's 80% off for $6. I haven't played Vermintide. I've heard the word many times, so I'm assuming it's probably fairly popular. Like as I
Hmm.
scroll through this, there's some good deals in here, and maybe there's something there that's right up your alley. Have you played Warhammer games, Lloyd?
Not a lot of them. I'm not a 40K fan. I've never, like, from like role playing days and all this, I've never been a fan of Warhammer 40K. I do want to like the games. There's a local game company called Complex Games, and they recently put out Warhammer 40K Chaos Gate Demon Hunters, which is supposed to be one of the best Warhammer games that has come out recently. And I really want to support these guys because Complex Games is fantastic. I know some people that work there. They've been putting out a lot of really great titles, and for them to work on the Warhammer franchise is pretty huge for them. But yeah, it's a Warhammer game, so I haven't picked it up. I will eventually, just to support my friends over there. But I'm not even sure if if Chaos Gate Demon Hunter is part of that sale, because every time that I click through, my browser keeps not working so well. So yeah, it's great games. Oh yeah, it looks like it is on sale for $51, down from whatever it was. So yeah, I can pick that one up here as well.
And there's one there's a demo for that you can try out. It's called, where did it go? Warhammer 40K Shooters, Blood and Teeth. And it has a demo. It's coming out this year. It's not out yet, but there is a demo available. And it very much is reminding me, like the art style is reminding me of, what was the side-scrolling tactical game from SteamWorld?
SteamWorld Heist.
Heist. The art style is reminding me of SteamWorld Heist. So you might
looks
want to
really
check
good.
that out.
Yeah,
And then
I'm gonna wish list that one.
there you go. And you can try out the demo and see if it works. Summer is coming, everybody. And that means two things. It means that I'm going to be on vacation soon, which is awesome. But it also means that baseball season. Now, I am not a sports guy. I don't really care about that stuff. But I do care about Super Mega Baseball. If you have never played Super Mega Baseball games, they're really fun, arcadey, goofy baseball games. They don't like feature major league players, but that game is on sale right now, 60% off for $18. I played Super Mega Baseball 2 on my Nintendo Switch. Really, really liked it. I just wanted to let people know that this is on sale. Super Mega Baseball is the best baseball game, in my opinion, as somebody who does not follow sports even a little. So there's my endorsement.
I think the last time I played Super Mega Baseball, it wasn't owned by EA, so it's that was a while back. Because didn't EA just recently buy this company that was making Super Mega Baseball, Metalhead or
You
whatever?
may be right. Actually, yes, because when I click on that, it does say that it's included with EA. I can't remember, EA Play.
Okay, nice,
Yeah,
interesting.
but
I'll have to
or
check
you could
that
just
one out.
buy it for 60% off right now. But
Yeah.
that does it for this episode of On Deck, episode 22. Lloyd, why don't you tell everybody goodbye?
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. It is fantastic to be able to do this one weekly and have so much news to go over. So much, in fact, that we couldn't finish in this episode. So we'll be back next week to talk about all the stuff Steam Deck. Take it easy, everybody, and check out all the stuff we do over at nerdnest.tv.
Bye-bye.